Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, my friends. This is Angy Stewart from InnerLight and Kardec Radio. We are live. I always forget to put something. Let me turn on this. Yes, good. So we are live. Everything is working. This is so exciting. Oof. Thank you, Lord. Let's hope that everything continues working, because we are again having another beautiful day to study our two books. I always like to show, because if you are new to the study, you will be able to follow with us. This theme book is called What is Spiritism? So the beginning of the book, we are reading the biography of Allan Kardec, and Allan Kardec is the codifier of the Spiritist philosophy. So Allan Kardec was the person that was able to get the messages from hundreds of mediums through thousands of spirits and put together, and he was able to create this beautiful piece of work from the spirits to us. So a big misunderstanding is that the people think Allan Kardec actually created it, but no, he only organized it, and who sent the messages were actually the enlightened spirits. So we studied this book for 30 minutes, and then we studied this book, the Gospel according to Spiritism. So this is like a thicker book, and the Gospel is a perfect book for, especially for us at this moment that we are going through pandemic time, very hard times. It's not easy to anyone. My co-workers are from the UK, and today they went in the second lockdown. So it's not easy. We had a very large meeting because a lot of people are very, very stressed. You have to be in your home again. You cannot get out. We are in Miami, and we still very much free here. You still can walk on the streets. We can go to the parks. We can go to the beach. We actually can even go in the restaurant. So let's hope everything will continue being good, and we are not going to need to go into lockdown again. But the gospel helps us to understand why there is so much suffering, why some people are super happy. Like I put in quotes, because nobody is actually happy, but the person can transmit to others this idea of happiness, but maybe they have something inside that they are also in pain. Why there are kids that are born with diseases that they don't have a cure. So this book helps us to have an understanding, helps us to understand the teachings of Jesus, the parables. Because if you really study the parables, they are confusing. Not all of them, but some of them are confusing. You don't understand, what is that? And in this book, Kardec was able to analyze little by little and give us a broader understanding. So this book is a blessing. And all of us Spiritists, usually once a week, we do something called Gospel at Home or God at Home, where we study together for, like, depending, 20 minutes to 1 hour, that book, the Gospel. So we read with our family. If we don't have family, we read by ourselves. And I personally like to take the book, think about something that's troublesome to me, and open randomly. And usually, I find the answer. So each one has a different style, but I like to do it like this. So let's start. I always like to ask you to please have your water so the enlightened spirits can bless it. Let's do our initial prayer, and let's go through the what is Spiritism. God, our Mother and Father, again, we are here together with our friends, incarnated and discarnated, studying these beautiful books. We ask you at this moment your help, your enlightenment, so we can connect with the good spirits, helping us to transmit our studies, helping us to connect with the enlightenment so we can have better ideas and better ways how to explain what we have read, and so our friends can also benefit from it. Thank you so much. So be it. Awesome. Let's go. So I will share my screen where we are going to be reading the book. So last week, before I do that, last week we were actually talking about the tough mission of Allan Kardec. So we read that Kardec received the messages from 4 different mediums telling him how would be his mission on earth regarding spiritism. So we saw that was not an easy message, was a very tough one, where the spirits told him that his mission was going to change the world. So it was really like powerful. They said your mission is going to change the world, but for you to be able to fulfill it, you will have to dedicate your life, including your health. So the ones who were last week, you remember that was a tough message, and the spirits told him there will be a lot of tribulation, a lot of friends will stab you on your back, and your life will not be easy. But if you overcome all of this, you will have a lot of merit because you were able to deliver the message. So this was how we ended last week, and then Kardec was telling us that yes, he had actually suffered all kinds of consequences, all kinds of issues that that the spirits told him. So he was true. I have suffered all kinds of problems, friends, they betray me, all kinds of things. And we are gonna see now that Kardec was having these meetings in his own house. So he started with a small group, a few friends, few mediums were getting together once a week, but then it started growing, and it was so big that it was difficult for him to accommodate everybody in his own house. And that's when some people from the society decided to get together and said, listen, we have to rent a room. We have to rent some place that we can meet there. So we are not going to be in his living room anymore. We will have more space. And that's exactly where we are right now. So let's go. So the Parisian Society for Spiritist Studies was founded on April 1st, 1858. Until then, the meetings had been held in Kardec's home, and Miss E. Dufault was the main medium. So I tell her name because her husband will help a lot with the creation and the opening of this society. She was the main medium that used to help Kardec. So that what I explained, the location became overcrowded, and then in order to meet, they had to obtain the recognition and authorization of the police. So it's not that in the past religious meetings they couldn't just like, okay, let's rent this room. No, you had to get authorization from the police in order to have the paperwork to properly open that. And not the paperwork just to rent a room, paperwork to rent a room and to open a study, a philosophical study in that location. And then Mr. Dufault, the husband of the main medium, And he knew the police, the chief of police personally. So this was a big help because he knew the chief, and the chief was actually a guy with very open-minded. He was open to new ideas. So he didn't see any problem. And he gave the authorization for them just in 15 days. And they even mentioned that it could have taken months, 2 to 3 months. And so initially, they rented the room in this place called Palace Royal in the Valois Mall. So it's a beautiful location. It still exists in Paris. It's a long building where nowadays it's open. Nowadays it's open. It's like you only see the poles. It's like a long gallery, and you see this very tall poles. It's very beautiful. But in the past, these tall poles, they were closed, and each two were a room where worked as a business. So they had many different businesses there. So they rented one room in this location. They stayed there for 1 year, and then they moved. They went to another location, and it's very closed. It's very close to where they were, but now it's in Montpensier Mall, and that's where they stayed after this first year. So after having given account of the conditions in which the society was formed and the task he had to fulfill, Kardec explained. He explains in the Revue Spirité from 1859. So he gives all the details in the Spiritist Review. That's how it was translated into English, Spiritist Review. And this one is from the 1859. So he explains that I worked to maintain strict order at the meetings and to impress them with a serious character. So, as we had seen in the past, the table turning movement, as it was called in the past, was a movement just for fun. People get together just to enjoy, to have fun, to ask silly questions to the spirits. And I'm going to get married. I'm going to be millionaire. I'm going to have a daughter or a son. Things that didn't really bring a value to a broader group. And when Kardec participated of this first Parisian society, he organized it in his way, like very strict. He created rules, regulations that everybody had to follow. And the main purpose was really the study, the improvement to the betterment of all, not just curiosity. So this is for us to understand the way he fought. And then it's a long story, but in this Parisian society, it started with 8 friends, became 20. Then when they were 30 people, that's when they rented the first room. And these 30 people, they were close friends to Kardec. That's how he fought. But when they started working together, it started happening all kinds of rumors. These 30 people that were supposed to be his good friends start gossiping, start doing all kinds of intrigues. And Kardec discovered, and he felt really bad because he was donated all his time, his hard work. He was doing all the research, collecting all the messages, organizing. Besides all of that, he was organizing this first Spiritist center. So when he heard all these bad stories about him, he felt hurt. And we don't know exactly, but he decided that he wanted to quit being a worker. He wanted to quit being the president, being the organizer, the one who took care of all the paperwork, and he wanted to give this to somebody else. So he says, my decision to renounce in the future any kind of position in the society. So he didn't want to have any position. Spiritist societies depend a lot, but usually they have a president, a vice president, secretary, then they have directors, coordinators of many different studies. And he didn't want anything. He said, I don't want any position. I want to give all the positions to all the others. And then he says, my reason for this is the multiplicity of my tasks. So he was explaining to the people in general that he had too many tasks. He was doing too many things, and he was really doing too many things. So he couldn't take another one. He was like, okay, you do it because I'm already super busy. It's totally fine. And then he explains, I am preparing other laborious study in which will demand 10 years. So this is what he is telling them. But he heard a lot of people from this first initial 30 members saying that he was doing things wrong. He was collecting money for himself. He was creating crazy rules that nobody should respect. So he heard all of that. So there is a portion that I don't know if I highlighted, but he was actually telling all my friends that have so many ideas, so many great ideas. I will give you this opportunity for you to take care, for you to do it. I don't think. Let me see if I put it here. So he was the president for 10 years. And I think this a little bit gentleman of which I had often, oh no, this is he saying that he already tried for so many times to give away his position. So for a long time, I have nurtured the desire to resign my duties. So imagine, he was extremely busy. He had a full-time job. Sometimes he had more, depending on the time of his life, he had more than one job. If you guys saw the movie on Netflix called Kardec, you can see that in one time of his life, he was working to many different companies, doing the accountant. He was the accountant to many different companies. So he was a very busy man. And besides all that, traveling around, spreading spiritism, collecting the answers he gave to mediums about many, many questions, deciding which one is good, which one I have to throw out. And on top of all this, the president of the Spiritist Center. So let me see if this one here. No, I don't know what is the little portion that I read that. But Kardec's resignation was not accepted, and he was re-elected on how do I say that? Anonymously, unknown. I can't even say the word. No. I don't know. Guys, read here. It is right here, okay? Right here on top of this one here. I'm so bad with this. So he tried to quit because of so many gossips and attacks he was receiving from the Spiritist Center. He actually opened. But that's one thing that I always say. People are very quick to condemn you. People are very quick to talk bad about you. So people are very fast to say, oh yeah, Angie, forget about, she's horrible. She doesn't do anything, or she does everything wrong. She talks too much. She does, blah, 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 blah. The moment she is not there, or I'm just giving my example, but could be anything with anyone. And then you say, okay, so you do it because you have such a great ideas. You have great comments. You were saying that she's doing lots of wrong things. So you start doing, let us see how you will be able to handle. Most of the time, these people, they don't do it. What they say is like, oh, I'm just telling you, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just telling you, but You have to find somebody else. So this is usually what happens. People are quick to condemn, but when they are asked to do the same job, then they say they can't do it. And that's exactly what happened to Kardec. So then we come to another story. In September 1860, Kardec took a promotional trip. So he took many of those trips where he used to travel all over Europe, spreading Spiritism. So he went to visit some Spiritist centers that were open. So he went to check it out to see how they are working, how they're studying. And then he says the results, he observed the doctrine's remarkable progress. However, what is especially worthy of a note is that nowhere did he see it being used as entertainment. So this is what I mentioned before. Kardec was really very rigorous. He was very much into the study, and having the doctrine are something that should not be for entertainment, but to improvement of our moral. So he was very happy to be able to see that the Spiritist centers he visited, they were following these rules. So he mentioned there are many adversaries. So he knew all kinds of troubles, all kinds of issues that the centers were facing, and he himself was facing, because he was the one who started it all. So he talks about the Spiritist Center in Lyon, because it was a very big one, very strong one. So he says, in Lyon, there are numerous Spiritists of all social classes, and the blue-collar class is composed of hundreds. So imagine, in Lyon, there were hundreds of people that were actually studying Spiritism. So this is amazing, because the difference between Lyon and Paris is because in Paris, where he started, the society there started with his personal friends. So they were more intellectuals. They were lawyers, teachers, they were doctors. So they were like a higher society, if we can say, for example. But then in Lyon, it was broader. It was open to many others. So it didn't get stuck in just this higher level, but it was open to the blue collar class. And he was very excited because there were hundreds of people seriously studying it. So he mentions that following his trip, Kardec made a magisterial speech at the banquet held in September 19, 1860. So he says, the first thing that impressed me was the number of followers. So as we mentioned, had a lot of people. In Lyon, there were hundreds of sincere Spiritists. And then he explains that there are three categories of followers. The first one, there are those who limit themselves to believing in the reality of the manifestations. They seek the phenomena. So exactly like we have nowadays. In Spiritism, we have the mediumship phenomena. A lot of people, they can see things, they can hear things, they see shadows moving. So these are people that we call the mediums, ostensive mediums, because as we know, we are all mediums in a little way, because we can have inspirations from another spiritual beings, and we can have intuitions. So in this sense, we are all mediums. But when you really can see, when you can touch, or we can hear. These are called ostensive because this requires a little bit of more connection with the spiritual world. And because of this, there are a lot of people that are very curious about mediumship. So they would like to join a spiritist center to be able to see the phenomena, to participate of mediumistic meetings, but they are not even mediums. And they didn't even study the medium's book, for example, but they are curious. So they wanna join it just to see how it is. And this is what Kardec is mentioning. This is the first type of spiritists, the followers. The second type, there are those who see something in Spiritism besides the phenomena, who understand its philosophical scope and admire the morality that derives from it. However, they do not put Spiritism into practice. So the second group is a little bit better. They understand the mediumship phenomena, they think it's okay, but they really like also the philosophical portion of the doctrine, where we understand that we have to study ourselves, we have to study the moral behavior so we can improve as a person, but improve in our society, improve with our family. But the problem is they study, but they do not put it in practice. So it's almost like they know, they read the book, they understand it, but they point the fingers to the others to do it, to the others to practice, but they themselves don't practice. So they're still, they still need to evolve a little bit more. And then comes the third type of spiritists. So those are those who are not content with simply admiring its morality. They practice it and accept its consequences. They take advantage of these short moments to progress on the path of evolution that the spiritists have traced out for them by doing their utmost to, to do good and to restrain their evil tendencies. So this is really the full package. We understand mediumship, we understand the philosophical points of the doctrine, but we understand how important it is for us to practice what we learn. And a big portion of the Spiritist philosophy is charity. Charity in the latter sense, not a charity, little charity, just giving a little bit of money to somebody in need, but the charity of forgiveness, indulgence. This is really the big charity that Spiritism tells to all of us to do. And we were starting this last week and 2 weeks ago when we were talking about forgive your enemies. That's something very difficult. And the character of indulgence we studied last week. So this is a big part of Spiritism. So he says, on every occasion, charity is the rule of their conduct. These are true Spiritists, or better, Christian Spiritists. So this is really what the Spiritism should bring to all of us, make us better people. So when we understand all the philosophical portion, when we understand the mediumship phenomena, knowing that the spirits, they come back to tell us how was their life here and how they woke up in the other side. So they are the ones who teach us a lot, saying, listen, I did this, and this. When I woke up, it was a disaster. Everything different than what I imagined and what I expected, and I'm in pain, I need help. So we mediums and people that participate of mediumship phenomena, they learn a lot. So the spirits, they even tell us that the mediumship meetings, they are not really super important for the spirits, because most of them can be treated in the spiritual world, but they are very important for us incarnated, because when the spirit comes and tells us their life story, how they lived and how they woke up in the spiritual realm, the consequences for them, that's when we always start reflecting, we always start understanding, and all we understand really that we have to put in practice what we already learned. Because if we don't do it, we will be doing exactly like them. We will have so much knowledge, but we never really put in practice. And when we wake up, woo, it's not a very good surprise. It's a bad surprise. Ooh, 9:30. Okay, so let's stop in this page. Which page is that? 27. And then we will continue with this wonderful book. I really appreciate this book. I have read portions of this book, because when we finish the biography of Kardec, then we are going to go into Kardec's interviews, and he puts 3 examples of interviews, and the interviews are really amazing for us to understand the way he fought and how humble he was, talking to people that were attacking him, people that really demonstrated like hatred, not just to the Spiritist philosophy, but to him in person. So this is that generalization that sometimes we don't like something a person is saying, and immediately we don't like the person at all. We forget all the good things the person did. We forget any kind of good moments we had together if we were friends. And because of that, now the person is close to be a devil, an obsessor, like in Spiritism. So this is something that we have to learn. We can't be like this. Okay, I will bring our friends, our guests of today. So we have here Teresa Castro with us. And we have Davi Abdallah here with us too. So, my friends, you know Teresa because she's with us all the time. She is from Mount Vernon. We met in New York City, and she's a local. Now I'm trying to make Davi a local.
I'm from Vermont. Vermont.
Oh, I said Mount Vernon again. You know, I think you have to do something in Mount Vernon. I think you have to take a trip and go to Mount Vernon Spiritist Center. I gave many lectures. There must be a connection. But yes, Vermont. My goodness, please. And we have Davi. Davi is local in the sense that he's here. He's here from Miami. So I met Davi in Conscious Living Spiritist Group. That is the center that I go and I study, I give lectures, and I met wonderful people. So Davi is one of these great friends. It is a pleasure to have both of you guys here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angie. It's always fun to be with you.
Yeah,
and now we are gonna go to the gospel. So, guys, if you have the book, oh, I didn't even say hello to anyone today. My God, I'm so horrible. Let me just see who is here. Hello, Claudia. Nice to have you here. Claudia Garces was with us last week. We have Nora. Hi, Nora. Nora is always here with us too. Roberta, my cousin. Yay! Sol Souza. Hi, Sol. Sol is also, my goodness, I met Sol so many years ago. Sol is also from New York Times. Very good. So let's go, guys. We always have not enough time when we start talking. So today we are going to talk about chapter 11, loving one's neighbor as oneself. So I will read a little bit and then we can comment. So let me see. So I will read this little portion that talks about the story that the Pharisees, they went to talk to Jesus to test him, because it's not that they really wanted to learn from him, but they were always trying to plot something. So they go to him and they say, Master, which is the greatest commandment of the law? And then Jesus says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. And then he says, the second, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. So what can we talk about it?
Well,
That
Oh,
go
and
first.
by the way, guys, you that are watching, please write your comments, write your questions. These two will be happy to answer, and I'm gonna be just like, yay, yay! Ask your questions to them. Come on.
Well, here's for our question, right? Because to see who can answer, who wants to be a spiritist. So,
Yeah.
What is the name of this rule? What do we know this also? See if anybody answers it.
What was the question?
So the
Who wants
question
to be?
Yeah, so now I remember you started last week your little game of asking a question to see who could answer.
Yes.
So my question tonight to the audience is, what do we know this rule? This is known as a rule. Can anybody name it?
The rule to be a spiritist.
No.
The rule that Jesus just pointed.
Question in regards to the reading. So what we just read is also known as a rule. Does anyone know the name of the rule? Is anybody answering? Angie, can you see their comments?
Let me see. So, the golden rule, Nora is saying?
Hey, Nora. That's called the golden rule.
I never heard of this rule.
You never heard of this rule?
No?
Yes.
The golden rule.
Mm-hmm.
What is the golden rule? Ah, that's awesome. I'm learning.
The
Woo!
golden rule is just what we read. You love yourself or you love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. Don't do unto others what you would not want done to you. That's known as the golden rule.
Oh, wow.
That is the second commandment there, right? Because there were two commandments. The first is to love God above everything with all your heart and so on.
Yeah.
And the second one was to do to your neighbors as you would like to be done to yourself. The second one is the golden rule.
Exactly. That's what Angie just read. Yep. She read them both.
Cool. I didn't even know about the golden rule. Emmanuel is saying the rule of love. Yes, for me it's good too. Good. I didn't know.
I think we know that as the rule of Spiritism, Angela. Right?
Yeah. So what else can we start talking about it?
Well, I think the important thing about this golden rule, so to speak, is that it pushes us to start to develop empathy. And we know from there we can build compassion, because we stop with the me, my, and mine. And it pushes us to become more other-centered about how is the other person, putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. So it basically, the rule is coming from do no harm to anybody.
Yes.
And I just like to mention this because I think it's interesting. Is then in 1970, there was a communication researcher who came up with. There was also a philosopher. They came up with something they called the platinum rule, which was doing unto others wherever reasonable as they want to be done by. So it was a little bit of a step up, taking ourselves out of the picture. But regardless, they both are pushing us to start to become other-centered, to get ourselves about us benefiting, going toward more that true charity of doing for the sake. And I think it's a nice follow-up to last week's lesson about
Yes.
forgiveness.
Yes, and this is so amazing. This is how Kardec mind organizes everything. We know that he doesn't have things all over the place. So the gospel is really one thing connected, is all interconnected, but he organizes it in such a beautiful way that we realize, wow, this is it's a good connection. So he put it there, and it helps us to develop this understanding because of what we already studied before. It's really good.
So
So
Teresa, this is called the platinum rule, the one you
Yes,
mentioned.
they call it the platinum rule, and it was this philosopher Karl Popper, and then there was a communication researcher named Milton Bennett in 1970 that coined this platinum rule. And what's interesting is, they talk about it. When people first hear it, they think, oh, you're going to just give everybody what they want. It's not about meeting people's demands. They said it's actually at looking, they described it as it's helping people in the present based on their future self, which really made me think about in the book 2,000 years ago, when by Emmanuel, psychographed by Chico Xavier, when Jesus meets up with Publius Lentulus, and he pretty much he sees him as Emmanuel, and pretty much says, listen, if you don't, come with me, otherwise it's going to be a lot of suffering. So I think it's that push for us to see people in their greater self. It's difficult, when people offend us, to see the person, beyond that. But I think this is what we're being asked to do because don't we want that? When we make a mistake, we want people to look beyond it. We don't want that.
The way I think about it, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned, but the way I always thought about this is try to be fair, right? In a situation, because, it's beautiful when Jesus said that, but we need to understand that in the context of our daily lives. And this is a subject that I've been thinking and meditating about it for perhaps a few years now. And the way, when you brought this golden rule, you said, try to be reasonably, or try to be reasonable with other people. I heard the word reasonable. And what came to my mind immediately, and as I was reading the chapter today, is try to be fair especially on adverse situations, right? Because it's very easy when we're all friends. Like, I've been friends with Angela for a few years now, and we always have a lot of fun. But if there is a problem,
then
but if there is a problem, how we would conduct ourselves with each other, and how would we treat the other person, and obviously that in itself becomes an adverse situation, because you might have a certain view or a certain thing you would like to tell her, right? But you need to get a little bit out of yourself and understand if what you're saying and the way you're acting and the demands you're making are being fair to her on the overall context. That's how I understand this rule. And I don't know if I'm being too detailed here, or somebody, one of you, want to clarify our questions?
I understood. You were saying that when is everything is wonderful, piece of cake, everything is happy and easy, and everybody loves everybody. But when a problem happens, that's when we have to exercise this rule. And
Absolutely.
that's what Jesus said. It is difficult when somebody offends us to still exercise this rule. And yes, it is difficult, but that's exactly why we are here, studying hard, because when the moment comes, we will be able to do it. Not easy. We know it's not easy. So we know that many times our best friends, we will have a problem, some kind of thing that you never imagine. And that's when the moment comes and we have to exercise this calmness, this forgiveness, this putting ourselves in the other person's shoes and start thinking, wow, if this was happening to me, I would like this what I'm doing, I would like this to be done to me. So just exercising this many times calm us to behave a little bit better, because we're like, no, I wouldn't really like that. Of course, we will start, but I wouldn't have acted this way because how we like to do. But we can't be thinking like that. We have to think straight like the other person, the way it's happening. Would I like it? How would I behave? How I would like this to happen to me? So we start like, okay, so let me try to be a little bit better. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. We never expect to have like an issue with a good friend. We always imagine everything is perfect. But exactly like the story I was telling of Kardec, he opened the Spiritist Center with his good friends, had 30 people that were all, in his mind, they were all working to the better of the Spiritist Center, spreading the good news. But then people start stabbing him on his back. And it's very difficult. Can you imagine, like, wow, you're working so hard, and people start gossiping that he was taking money from the Spiritist Center to be traveling around the world, and we know it's a lie. He spent the money of his own. He never took money from the Spiritist Center to do it. So this is like things that hurt. But it's good for us to think about and to act. Let me see what Emanuele actually said here. Hi, Emanuele, nice to have you here. So she said, it's not easy, but knowing that we have to act fairly towards others, we have to first go deep inside ourselves and understand how unreasonable you can get. Yes, yes. It calms us down. We're like, wow, yeah. Let me try to be a little bit better, so we can act a little bit better. So
what I think
what
is
else?
interesting, Angie, what I think is interesting is that, despite Kardec being, betrayed, so to speak, he stayed first. He stayed true to that first commandment, loving God above all, with all his heart and all his mind, all his soul. I don't know if that
Yeah,
I'm saying it right, but yeah, because he continued on. He didn't let
yeah,
those obstacles stop him. He continued on with his work that he
yeah,
was doing and working for the spirits. And so that's a wonderful thing for us to remember his example, because it is hard when you're not feeling well liked or feeling supported or getting those applauds to continue on. In fact, when you feel like people are undermining you or going against you, it can be very challenging to stay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
And
why I think
and
the
he never
two,
named the people too. He never arrived and say, "Oh, I have to say that the person A, B, and C are complaining." So he never did that. He heard the gossip and he like, okay. Sorry, Davi. What do you want to say?
I was going to say that it looks like these two commandments are connected. And I don't really like the word commandment because they're more like principles, right? Spiritual principles. Commandment gives you the impression that something you have to do, you have no choice. The reality is you have choice. And as Teresa was saying, Kardec kept true to the second commandment, probably because he was following the first principle, which is love God above everything. So he was in peace and he was able to endure accusations and still act in a fair way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would be able to follow the second principle or the second commandment if he wasn't loving God above everything else. Meaning, I have a different vision. I'm looking past through this life. I know I have a mission, and I am not going to get caught up on the pettiness of this world.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, I agree. And you just said we have a choice. Yes, we have a choice, but we have to know that in Spiritism, that's why we have to exercise well our free will, because we always have a choice. But
Oh, yeah.
we have to be careful with our choices, because we know that a reaction, there is a reaction. So we want to do something good. And as the example in the book, so whoever read the gospel, read the story that Jesus tells about, that this king, that this master, that he is collecting the payments, and one of his servants owes him a lot of money, a lot of money. So he is putting this servant and his whole family in jail to get the money paid, and he's possessing all his things. And the servant begs him, please, please, please have mercy on me. I will pay you. I just need time. So the master, the king, feels sorry for him, feels compassionate, and allows him to go and forgives his debt, meaning he does not need to pay anything else. So he goes free. And the story says that almost immediately he met another servant who owes him a little bit of money, and he grabs this guy by the throat and tells him, pay me now. And the servant did exactly like he did. Please, please, please have compassion, wait a little bit of time and I will pay you. But the servant who was forgiving by the king didn't have the same attitude of the king. He immediately required him to be put in jail until he was paid. This was the rule from the past. And other people saw what happened, went straight to the master, gossip about him, and said, Master, you have no idea what just happened. I saw with these eyes. He put somebody else in jail because of this little amount of money. So that's when the king required him to be put in front of him, and he said, you did not do to the other what I did for you. So now you are going to jail, and you will be there until you pay me every single penny. So this was a way of Jesus demonstrating, because Jesus had always these beautiful stories. He was always with this amazing, very colorful stories to people really to connect. And that's what the way he was demonstrating to people, to us, like you want the king to forgive your debts, but when arrive your moment to forgive or to give more time to your friend, you don't do it. So that's that's really like something for us to really think about, because we always want the best for us, but many times when arrive our time to do something, we are like, no, but he deserves it, it's different, he this, he that, whatever. We find excuses. That's the point. We find excuses to not fulfill it.
We judge people with different measures, right?
Exactly.
The measures that we judge ourselves are different than we judge other people.
Exactly. The same way that if someone, if your friend is asking you for something, you will think about in a better way than if someone who you don't even know is asking for the same thing. We have different things like, oh, wait, this is Davi. I know him. He's such a nice guy. He's asking me for that. Or this is a friend of a friend of a friend. I don't even know this person. I'm not going to even consider this. So we do this. It's our normal behavior. Of course, we have to think what is being asked, how I'm going to deal with that. But then we come back to the same thing. If this was happening to me, how I would like the person to think or to act. So it's always like connected. And this always brings us to be more charitable, because we want to receive charity, but we need to know how to give to, in lato sense, not just giving money, but in a bigger sense. And what can we talk about the other one? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. This is a very, very interesting. So we have very few time, but I'm just going to read the little piece for the friends to know. So this is again the Pharisees, the best friends of Jesus. So the Pharisees again, they are trying to trap, like how they're going to get him. And then they ask Jesus, is it permissible for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not, Master Jesus? And then Jesus said, oh, you hypocrites. Jesus was tough because he could see their thoughts, we can't, but the enlightened spirits, they look at us, they can see our thoughts. That's how spirits from a lower level that are brought by guardian angels or by other enlightened spirits to visit higher plans, they always say they feel so embarrassed because their thoughts are like here. So the enlightened spirits, they can read what we are thinking. And then Jesus said, you hypocrites, why are you testing me? And then he said, show me the coin you use for the taxes. And having presented with a denarius, Jesus says to them, whose image is in this inscription? And then they say, Caesar's. And then Jesus says, then render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and God what is God's. What can we talk about it? What did Jesus wanted to say with that?
From what I read, like on the side from the source in Portuguese, this was a trap for Jesus, right? Because the Jewish did not want to pay the taxes, and there were both Jewish and Romans there. So if he said you pay the taxes, the Jewish would harm him. If he said don't pay the taxes, the Romans would harm him. And he was smart to come with that answer, but the way I interpreted that was that let's not mix up spiritual and word subjects. Let's not mix politics with spirituality.
Yes.
which is so appropriate for today.
Yes. 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 Very good. Very good. Teresa, what do you think?
Well, I still think a lot of what Jesus is talking about is trying to get us to break down our selfishness and come to true charity, and not about giving in the sense because I owe or I have to, but giving because it's the right thing to do. So, I'm just taking a different spin on the idea of looking about becoming less selfish and starting to incorporate more that idea of universal family, widening our circles of love. So it's not just my blood people or, the people of my neighborhood or my nationality, but to extend that to more of a universal family. So, we start to get on that path of doing good for goodness' sake, not because I owe you or I have to, or because we have the same last name or whatever, or even the same religion, that we start. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and yes, exactly. Jesus wanted to really make people to understand. Jesus wanted to make people to understand, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. That's the very famous sentence. But it's also we have to understand this is a very broad sentence to be understanding. So even here, it is explained. Don't know. I'm not going to find where it is. Oh, here. And in the end of page 225. He mentions that it extends the fulfillment of duties toward family, society, and authorities, as well as toward individuals, meaning give to Caesar what is Caesar. So if Caesar put a law, you have to follow the law because you live in this country. So this is more or less like for us, for example, I'm Brazilian. I came to the United States and I want to continue following the Brazilian law, but now I'm in a different country. So I have to research to understand and to apply the laws of this country because I'm living here now. So this is also part of giving to Caesar what is Caesar's, these laws and regulations. And like Davi was explaining, when he said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and to God what is God, he was able to make them to understand the point that I'm here to teach you the God's laws. The laws of man are already being created by man, so you follow them. But I'm here to teach you the God's laws. And he gave to them in a way that they had to understand, oops, I am in Caesar's world, so I have to follow through, pay taxes, although the government will put me in jail. And then Jesus told him, you are not gonna kill anyone because this is God's law. It's not that I'm gonna put you in jail, but there will be repercussions of your actions. And I'm here as Jesus to help you to understand it. So it's very broad, this understanding. And as you said, yes, we have to expand this, to put ourselves in the shoes of everybody, to understand this broader love towards the others, because we always have a little bit of narrow-minded. That's always so tough for us to expand. But this is interesting when we analyze that. I remember when I saw the movie of this passage, I was like, wow, this man is so smart. Because he was able to escape both situations. And it's like, wow, yes, that's why.
No wonder he's Jesus.
Yeah, and I am who I am. So very, very different, very different. What else? You guys want to say anything else? Our time arrived. It's always so quick.
Thank you.
Very good.
Very nice.
Thank you so much, my friends. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Nora wrote something here. I didn't even see Nora. Let me see what you said. So far, we have been talking about love thy neighbor. What about the other part, as yourself? That self-love is also important component. Exactly. Yep. It's so important.
How can we love our neighbor if we don't love ourselves? You can't give away what you don't have. So
exactly. That's key. That's key, Teresa. If you don't love yourself, how are you gonna love others? If a person is so bitter, full of hatred, this person can never imagine forgiving somebody else, because this person can't even imagine forgiving herself for hating so much. So we always have to start with ourselves. Always. And even when we think we already know so much, when the moment to put in practice arrives, we fail. We're like, oh! But then we come back again Thursday, 9 p.m. again, and we practice again. We come back. Woohoo! Yes!
You better make sure you love yourself well so you can love others well. Because you don't want to fall into the trap of saying, I don't love others well because I don't love myself well.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's tough. But I've heard people arguing that way.
Oh gosh. So my friends, before I finish, I just wanted to remind all of you that are seeing or are listening to us. I'm having the project called Loving Bags for the Homeless. It's going to happen December 13, and we are welcoming donations. Please help us. We are trying to make 400 bags for the homeless here in Miami. So if you need any information, just write to me. We are constantly posting information, Facebook, YouTube. You can just reach me, and all donations are welcome. And also spread to your friends, family, so maybe more people can help us to get more donations. Thank you so much, my friends. We are going to close with a prayer. Davi, would you like to do the prayer for us?
Sure, I'll do the prayer.
Thank you.
All right. Dear Lord, beloved spiritual friends that help Angela and the whole movement, we thank you at this moment for this time of reflection, for being able to take time off our busy lives, especially on these difficult moments that so many people are going through, and being able to talk about these principles, this wonderful material that Kardec left us. We thank you for the technology and everything that's made this meeting possible. And we ask that we can learn, observe, understand, and meditate on this material. And we ask your help to guide us through the right path. Bless so many that maybe need today, wherever they are, those close to us, those far away. Let our love expand more and more each day. So be it.
So be it.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, my friends. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Teresa and Davi and all of you. And have a wonderful end of week. And I hope to see you guys all next Thursday, 9 p.m.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Nice to meet you, Davy.
Nice to meet you, Teresa.